Smoky Mountain National Park is the most visited national park in the country. Epic hiking, wildlife galore. It's a must-see national park. It even includes multiple campgrounds with hundreds of RV sites for you to bring your RV into the national park. So it makes sense that this is a go-to RV destination, right? Maybe? Maybe not.
A few weeks ago, we went back to Smoky Mountain National Park in our 24-foot Viva.
Which is still for sale. Link in the description below.
To discover, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, but it is busy. The sites are pretty tiny. The campfire was over $20 for one campfire. And now Smoky Mountain National Park is charging 4 permits for you just to be able to park in the national park.
So before you RV Smoky Mountain National Park, you need to know these 3 ugly truths that can make or break your dream RV trip. And hang with us until the end, and we'll show you what we think is the best way to explore Smoky Mountain National Park with an RV, and we'll let you know if we're gonna go back.
So being from Tennessee, we grew up going to Smoky Mountain National Park.
Say hi.
Say hey.
Hi.
Some of our fondest memories, and it actually is even JJ, our son's very first camping trip we took as a family when he was born was to Smoky Mountain National Park. We even have a picture of that, and we tried to recreate that that first camping trip. JJ was about 3 weeks old when we went for this trip.
All right, we're gonna recreate this photo, apparently.
It's going well. JJ, look. Can you look at the camera? Where's the camera?
JJ.
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 Look at the camera.
Cheese. However, we've also seen Smoky Mountain National Park and the areas around the park change a lot over the last 30 years as we've been visiting the park. Cue the gorilla on top of the building as you're coming into Pigeon Forge.
Which our kids love
They
to
do
see
love it.
every single time.
They love seeing the gorilla. Nothing
Like
screams
King-
national park like King Kong on top of a building. Now, some changes are good, some changes are bad. This is just a popular area. But depending on what kind of RV experience you're expecting to have versus maybe what you've seen of the footage of Smoky Mountain National Park and how serene and how quiet and how peaceful it can be. And there are areas that are like that. Actually trying to RV in the national park may or may not be the best route for you.
A couple years ago, we went to Jenny Springs in Florida. We make a reservation, a lot of sites open, a lot of sites accommodate our size RV, no problem, right? And then we show up in our 40-foot fifth wheel, and the first site they assign us to, we drive up and we're like,
it's officially gonna be the tightest spot we've ever tried to get into. So we're supposed to fit between these 2 trees. I don't know if this is gonna happen or not. We're gonna try it.
This is so tight. You're not gonna make it, no. It's tight on this left side.
yeah, there's no way that's happening.
Of course, I tried for like 45 minutes because that's what I do, to angle in there. But yeah, it wasn't gonna happen.
It's not the site itself. We fit in the length of that site, but to navigate into that site with all the trees around, it was just not happening. So we're like, is there another site? Because there's tons open.
So they assigned us the second site, and we spent, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half trying to get into the second site because we're like, we want to be close to the springs.
I mean, we're like on this tree right here. Is that okay?
Can't cut it. My charger, the truck will just. Let me see if I can do it now. I think I can do it now.
Yep. Wow. I can't believe he made that.
What looked like a super easy stop because like 90% of the sites were open.
And they were large enough.
And like 70% of the sites were supposed to hold 40 feet. On paper, it looked like an easy deal, something super easy to do. But once we showed up, we realized this was not a good idea.
It was a very challenging moment on our marriage when you're inches away from a tree and you're trying to talk to each other and your kids are screaming because they're ready to get out of the truck. Those moments can be really stressful. I think there's actually camping shirts that say, "Forgive me for what I said when I was parking the RV."
100%. And so this leads into ugly truth number 1 with Smoky Mountain National Park. Just like Jenny Springs and just like lots of other areas, when you look online, especially Elkmont, or you walk around, you're like, man, there's so many sites I could fit into with my rig. The truth of the matter is, you might not even fit into Smoky Mountain National Park campgrounds, especially Elkmont. It's challenging just driving on the road to get to these campgrounds and then make the navigation and the turns and then be able to back into the sites without actually hitting anything, be able to get the slides out if you have slides.
No, I'm not gonna say you couldn't get a 35 plus foot RV in here. I'm just gonna say that this guy would not try to get a 35 plus foot RV in here. It's obviously you're not gonna get a 40 foot fifth wheel in that site. It's more than just the length of the site. It's can you make the turns through the campground? Can you actually cut the fifth wheel into the spot? It's really tough to camp here with a large rig.
There's 164 sites in Elkmont. If you have an RV that's 19 feet or less, immediately it goes down to 132 sites available because a lot of the sites are really short. If you have an RV that's 25 feet or less, it goes down to 88 sites. If you have an RV that's 30 feet or less, guess what? You've only got 34 sites to choose from.
And those are competitive.
Everybody wants the larger sites. And then once you get to 36 feet and you try to get into Elkmont, guess what? Technically, there are 0 sites that fit your RV. So if you're 40 plus feet for us, immediately Elkmont, which has 164 sites, is out of the picture. And getting a good site in Smoky Mountain National Park in Elkmont, you really want these water sites. I can't tell you enough how much better the creek front or the water sites are. You can hear it at night when you go to sleep.
That's
you can
where
walk
it's at.
right out of your RV and the kids can play in the water.
You want to see the river underwater?
Look at this. Let's go down here.
It might be pretty cool.
Might be. Ooh, it's clear too. Look how clear it is.
Those are so difficult to get.
I was even online a year in advance, right there, ready to get them, had everything lined up, gone.
Yeah, within seconds.
The national parks, they've kept affordable for a reason to be accessible for everyone. And they even offer a national park pass, which is an incredible deal. For $80 a year, you get entrance to all the national parks in the country. But with that being said, it can be a little bit of a nickel and dime situation when now Smoky Mountain National Park has instated that you have to buy a parking permit.
For us as National Park Pass holders, it was frustrating to have to know that we have to pay extra just to park at a viewpoint or park to do a hike when we've already paid for this National Park Pass. And so it felt kind of nickel and dime.
Really, your National Park Pass doesn't do much good because...
I don't know that it does any good
No.
in Smoky Mountain National Park.
We've never really encountered that before. You are going to park and do anything in the park. For more than 15 minutes, you need a parking pass. And that adds up, especially when you've bought a National Park Pass. We also had a campfire that night that we were like, oh, well, we'll just have some s'mores. Or little pieces of wood. Which...
$20 for 2 bundles of firewood.
It was $10 a bundle for like 5 pieces of wood. I thought, well, I'll swing by and grab some wood for the fire tonight, right? You know.
The kids even got creative and used the wood for bowling.
Let's see what she's got here.
Oh!
I know you can do it. Yay!
So we definitely got our $20 out of it at that point, but you know, it took some creativity.
The third ugly truth with Smoky Mountain National Park, and this is especially for those of you who you like your internet. There's not going to be any internet or cell phone service or Wi-Fi, even like at the ranger station or anything like that down there when you're especially at Elkmont. When you go down into the campground, you are on your own. So if you plan on working, if you plan for us, we got in a situation where we had some friends coming in after us and we just want to let them know we forgot to tell them what site we were at. And we couldn't let them know. There was no internet and no way to communicate from within Elkmont Campground.
You have to be ready to unplug. Our family enjoys those moments for sure, but we just have to be prepared and know ahead of time. And yeah, we were not prepared.
So whether you're traveling to Smoky Mountain National Park, Rocky Mountain National Park, or anywhere in the United States, one of the things we've seen over our last 7+ years on the road is that RVing can be lonely. Over the past several years, we've been developing an app called Nomad Near Me to help solve that problem. There are lots of ways for people to connect online as RVers, but we don't feel like there's as many ways for people to connect in person and reconnect with those same people. As you meet people and as you connect with people and as you become friends with people, the app will let you know when they're nearby. Now, Nomad Near Me works automatically in the background, taking your GPS location and randomizing that by 30 miles. So you get the sweet spot of people knowing the area you're in, but they don't know exactly where you're at. Now, because Nomad Near Me needs access to your GPS location, when you install it, you want to choose always allow when it comes to GPS location, because it can't work automatically with your GPS location if it doesn't know your GPS location. The big news with Nomad Near Me, we've had iOS out for a couple of years. Android is now out. So if you have an Android phone or an iOS phone, you can download Nomad Near Me. Just go to nomadnearme.com. Now the app is totally free. We do have a pro version. It allows you to start group messages. When you filter for what nomads you want to connect with, you have unlimited filters, and you can also save those filters for quicker access later. So if you want to connect with other RVers in person, grab Nomad Near Me. If you just want to see where Less Junk More Journey is at, search for Less Junk More Journey, send a friend request, and you can see where we're at as we're traveling from Tennessee to Idaho on our next route. We're sharing all these ugly truths and why it could be difficult to camp in Smoky Mountain National Park. What should you do instead if you're saying, okay, well, I've got a large rig, or I don't want to deal with these things that can be difficult inside the national park? I think if you still want to get the experience of Smoky Mountain National Park, not deal with the crowds, not deal with the Wi-Fi issues, finding a camp spot with not dealing with the extra little fees here and there,
Not fighting with your spouse.
not fighting with your spouse when you're trying to get into your spot. No injustice was sometimes just saying, you know what, we're gonna go touristy and we're gonna stay in Pigeon Forge.
Embrace the tourist.
Which is what we did this last time we went to Smoky Mountain. We stayed in Smoky Mountain with Aviva because it's only 24 feet. So
We
but
had the ability to do it.
Yes,
yeah.
we also spent some time in Pigeon Forge, but we stayed at the Ridge and we absolutely loved that facility. There are some phenomenal campgrounds in Pigeon Forge. We've heard good things about the KOA, we've heard good things about Margaritaville, and there are no shortage of campgrounds in the Pigeon Forge area to stay in.
Even when we tell you embrace the touristy and expect the tourist area, you're gonna be blown away because every time we come back, I mean, we go back at least once a year, we're like, wow, like they have Dollywood, which is one of our favorites, and Splash Country, which is the water park by Dollywood. You have a Titanic museum. The Ripley's Believe It or Not aquarium is one of the coolest things because there's a tunnel that you go through and you're like, sharks are all above you.
Floating towards us. That's a sand tiger. There was a great white.
We've been to a lot of aquariums over the country and we've never seen anything like it.
Pirate Voyage dinner show. Our kids
Love it.
absolutely enthralled with pirates jumping around and swinging off of stuff and diving in the water. Like, really cool show.
I think it's like the pancake capital of the world.
I would say per capita, there's 5 more
Yes.
pancake places anywhere else in the world.
So,
Yeah, it's a lot.
as much as we've seen it change, I think our best piece of advice is just to embrace that.
I think one thing that's different about Smoky Mountain National Park is having like this gateway town, because you have a lot of national parks like Rocky Mountain National Park. Estes Park is like their gateway town. You have a gateway town to the gateway town. It's Smoky
Yes.
Mountain National Park.
Yes.
So you've got Gatlinburg, which used to be the gateway town, and now you've got Pigeon Forge, which is the gateway town to the gateway town. It's almost like if you're like picturing the calm, serene experience of Smoky Mountain and you're going in with a large rig, like
Change your expectations.
we just don't want you to be shocked. Just go ahead and just embrace it. Embrace Dollywood, embrace Gatlinburg,
Embrace the pancakes.
embrace the
Highly
pancakes.
recommend
Yes.
you embrace all things
You'll
pancake.
be strategic about visiting Smoky Mountain National Park. During the week, if you're there, let's say you're in this area for a week. If you just come for a weekend, I have no tips for you.
Buckle up,
it's gonna-
Buttercup.
yeah, it's gonna be traffic to the park and back from the park and in the park. That's just how the area is now. But if you can time it where you can go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, especially if you can go in the morning and time it, I think it could be a really enjoyable experience. If you're trying to be strategic about your visit into Smoky Mountain National Park, you probably also want to beforehand know where you're going and what you're doing, because there could be a lot of traffic on these roads sometimes. And so if you
Yes.
kind of get stuck not knowing where you want to stop and you miss your stop.
And the traffic is like one way, so you have to like go up and then turn around and come like down. So it's,
and it could be a while before you can turn
Yes,
around sometimes.
yes.
And so if you miss the hike or if you miss the spot, so you really want to do your homework beforehand and not say, let's just drive up there today and see what we can find. If you do have a small RV, if you're 30 feet or less, I think it is an option to go into Smoky Mountain National Park. I know for a lot of you, you do have an RV that's over 30 feet. And that's why this video was meant to say, look, if you're in that range, it's really difficult and there's a lot of ugly truths with this park. Another option too, like if you make it a tenting experience and you go up and you stay a night or two in tents, there's obviously the tents are gonna fit on any site within these campgrounds in Smoky Mountain National Park. I think that could also be a good option if you really just wanna like wake up inside the national park. But do we recommend RVing Smoky Mountain National Park? Maybe, depending on the size of your rig and what your plan is. But do we recommend visiting Smoky Mountain National Park? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It's a phenomenal national park. You can have a fantastic experience. There's so many things to check out, so many things to do, especially if you're on the East Coast. It's probably the premier like mountain range and area to visit. Maybe we're partial, we're from Tennessee, but we think it's just a phenomenal family experience that you could have throughout the year, really. So if you want to see some of our favorite things to do in Smoky Mountain National Park, you'll definitely want to check out this video. We RV'd in Elkmont Campground with our 30-foot Airstream, hiked to Klingman's Dome, encountered black bears, and we explored the beautiful and majestic Cades Cove.